Thank you so much, Glenn. That was such a just like useful checklist of things to do in the hiring practice. Um, so I felt like that was there was a lot that I felt like I could take away from on that. So if you haven't got a chance to yet, everyone, just remember to go down to the Q&A bit to kind of type in your questions for Lauren. But I'm going to kick off with a question of my own, which was I was really interested in your what you talked about with the prompt task. So I was just curious to know if you could kind of elaborate on that a little bit more and kind of talk about what you guys had used as a prompt task in the past, what you thought made a good kind of prompt task for interviews.
Yeah, so I should say, I guess we've only used it once in this round of senior content design recruitment we did a little over a year ago, because we haven't had an interview to use that kind of task since. Um, and basically, I don't know how we would do it for maybe mid level because this was for a senior level. I don't remember the exact question, but rather than saying like, give a presentation of like some work you've done before, it asked the candidate to think about how they would approach a certain task relevant to our job. So I think it was something along the lines of, how would you create? We have a team of devolved editors around the university creating our web content. How would you ensure consistency in that? And like, what is the approach you would take to that? So it was kind of just getting someone to think about how they would approach something that was so critical to the job. So rather than saying, explain your experiences, show me a slide deck on it, here's something you're going to need to think about in this job. So, take a few minutes to think about how would you do that, and then tell us back to it, or tell us back.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to now go to some of the questions in the Q&A. So first question from Alicia. Alicia writes, have you thought about how to do live tasks for remote interviews without it creating extra stress? We've talked about doing that, but it felt like it might put people too much on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is something I've wondered about too. Is like, I know, I feel like I'm definitely the person that would probably do better if you gave me it ahead of time. But I also have the advantage of having a lot of time that I could use ahead of time to prep because I don't have caring responsibilities or stuff like that. Um, so I don't know. I think the thing, yeah, because there is a balance though that you do want to have like that even time for everyone. Yeah, the only consideration I think I have around that. Also, I realize how fast I'm speaking, and I know that someone made a comment about that. So I am trying to slow down. But what I have realized is I don't have the attention, I don't have the attention span to talk slowly because I will lose my train of thought if I slow down. So what I have thought about in this area is just always give more time than you think you need. Like just don't give what you think is enough time. Just give a comfortable amount of time so that someone can spend, X amount of minutes thinking of something. But always give the extra time so that if they are stressed, there is time to just like decompress and they can think of it. And that's why, like for instance, in the tasks, yeah, we give afterwards, like we say, yes, it can take an hour. Like, yes, we're going to give you an hour, but realistically, we don't think it will take this long. We've done it; it doesn't take us this long. But we are accounting for the fact that you may be nervous, you're going to be stressing out. We know that, so I think it's just always about just adding the extra time for people to, you know, don't give them the time you think you need to do it. Give them the time you think they need to do it under this under the pressure of an interview situation.
Yeah. Next question then from Lizzie. Lizzie says, I came in late, so sorry if this hasn't been covered, but how did the changes work for you in the context of working for a large organization? Did you get a lot of pushback from HR?
Uh, No, well, I guess I guess HR doesn't really have much control over our sort of way we go about the process. I mean, there's certain things we have to do in the way it's advertised and whatnot, but in terms of how we conduct the interviews, well, I don't know if it's just because we haven't shared it with them, but like no one. I guess there's no one said anything, no official way to do that. So no, and if anything, I think just more within our team, we've realized the benefits of it. But it is the type of thing that I do want to share more with other people in like my greater department for them to consider doing. I mean, yeah, certainly. I don't think I talked about it in this talk, but I have talked about it in previous talks. Like the one HR thing I'm not too keen on is like like the rubric you have to assess candidates on, you know, and say like how they meet the essential and desirable criteria and score them on like a 1 to 4 thing. And I don't like that in the sense that like I feel it like you lose out on people's potential because they might not check all the boxes, but actually they might, you know, show some potential that you think would be really good in the role. So that's the one thing that I would probably approach HR more about to get approval of, because like they would if we hired someone that like didn't have the highest tick boxes or whatnot or the highest scores, I think they'd question that. So that's the one thing I maybe look into. But in terms of like how we carry out our interviews, no one's checking that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of control we do have, which is something I recognize that not every other company may have, and I don't know what constraints may exist in other areas, but I would say for anyone that you find you do have control over like how the interview is carried out, but maybe not the over admin about it. I think this is a great opportunity to make changes like the ones I said today.
Yeah, and I think we're probably more familiar with these types of roles where you have to where you are being scored on the criteria, but a lot of people don't realize that that's what they're supposed to do. Just list off every single criteria
Yeah.
in your covering letter and say how you meet that criteria.
But that's exactly the type of thing I feel like that I just need to say in my any upcoming like posts where we advertise roles. Is just like, if you want an interview, these are the things I need to say, and like that'll help me tick those boxes without necessarily saying that, and but that'll advance you to the next round type of thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to the next question then. So the next question is from an anonymous attendee. So they write, what do you think about the digital workforce, particularly in content design and research, lacking diversity? With this conference, there's remarks that it appears to be mainly women attendees. How can roles in content design and inclusion be more attractive to individuals facing barriers like those outside academia affected by poverty? What changes do you think could tackle this problem?
That's a big one. Oh, it has something I've been thought about. Well, it is something I've thought about as well, especially since like, yeah, I think my team, my overarching department is not as diverse as I'd like it to be. Um, but that's also balanced by like I find like recruiting people that are like have the right skill set for the role really difficult. And I don't know if that's just because it's university, it's public sector, we pay less than other people, we can't offer like fully well, or it's expectation that you work hybridly at the university. It just makes like the organization itself has that many more barriers. Um, so what do I think? Yeah, how could this be changed? I don't, I don't know offhand, and I'm not sure I'm the person that's really qualified to answer it. I think would be the most realistic answer to say. But it's something I've thought about, and probably something that needs to be talked about more. But I don't know. I wonder if maybe that just like the lack, the fact that content design and similar disciplines are still emerging, and it's not something people readily know. That it's just a case of time going on and it being introduced to other spaces, it being seen as a thing you can do that makes it more widespread. So there's not that initial barrier of like having to like be in the know or connected to someone to actually know what this discipline is. But yeah, I think that's all I can answer for now because I think that question might be beyond my scope.
I have a follow-up question as well. Thinking about the talk which Lucy gave earlier, I was curious to kind of know some of your thoughts about the kind of the logistics of kind of interview and kind of how all that plays out and how we could be more inclusive just in terms of the logistics of how we're organizing interviews or the tools that we're using in interviews, the settings, kind of your experience around that.
Yeah. Well, I guess this comes back to the point in my talk where I talked about like how much time you're asking of someone at once, because like logistically that seems like a lot. Like someone doesn't just have 2.5 hours probably to readily dedicate to that. And I don't know. I feel like it's just a case of I know the thing that I would maybe another thing to consider changing in future is I feel like when you get an interview invite, if you've applied somewhere, there's this expectation that like you just have to say yes to anything they've asked for you, otherwise it's just not going to work out. And maybe it's just more of an approach of, well, we set this out because we think this is works and this is how it works for us, but like please tell us if it doesn't, and then we'll find a way to do it. Because there is, I mean, you could do that with everyone, but organizing interviews, it's a big logistical challenge just for the team hosting it, in addition to the person actually doing it. So I think there's issues on both sides that need to be met. So I feel like you just need to give your sort of best approach to do something, but then tell someone, you know, I've done it this way, but if this really can't accommodate you and you need something to, you need to make, you need us to make some changes to better accommodate you, like, please do let us know. Um, but keep in mind, I think the things like mentioned in Lucy talks about like things that aren't accessible, like don't do things that are already like by default going to create a barrier to someone.
Hmm. Yeah. I love this idea that maybe it could be more of a like two-way conversation, negotiation of kind of figuring out what works. Okay, well, that is, I think, it for Lauren's Q&A. And I see some people commenting in the chat about kind of their experiences of doing interviews and kind of ways in which they found were more kind of inclusive for them and their thoughts around that. So it's good to see that people have had some positive experiences and that it's not just all horrible out
Oh
there.
yeah, I'm seeing someone got paid for work data too. That's great. Like, we'd love to see more things like that. Or or something that doesn't create sort of an ethical barrier. But yeah, that's great to see. I'm glad to see people have positive interviews because, like I said, this talk came out of seeing and hearing about people's many negative experiences in this area.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think it's like I feel like I've been quite lucky with that because I've not never had to go through a seven-stage interview process. But you do have people doing this, and just um, yeah. Well, thank you very much to Lauren for her talk. That was really, really helpful. I feel like I personally am going to take this away and start using it for some of our hiring. So I really love these ideas. It's great to kind of see some of that. Um, so if you have further thoughts, so just remember everyone that, as I said, after our last session, we have the Slack. So if you have further questions for Lauren around her thoughts around inclusive hiring, remember that, you could always ask in the Slack. We have, you can DM Lauren, but we also have the reflections channel. So the hashtag reflections where you can just kind of put more general thoughts about kind of inclusive hiring and just post it to the group for people to kind of contemplate and reply to. Um, so thank you very much, Lauren, for that. Next up, we are going to take a break and come back at 1/2 past. So that's 3:30 p.m. GMT time for the panel discussion on being neurodivergent in design and research panel. If you want to continue, again, just remember to head up to the Slack and kind of post any thoughts. Any thoughts there? So, and Claudia has helpfully posted the feedback form for Lauren in the chat. So make sure that you use that to give people feedback. So thank you very much, Lauren, and we'll see everyone again at 1/2 past.
Thanks so much. Bye everyone.